grief. Howdy. Today is, what even is today? Monday, July the 29th. And my windshield wipers, I'm going to warn you right now, are constantly squeaking. I don't know what the problem is, but yeah, they are constantly squeaking. Let me. My mic muted? Is my mic muted? I'm going to be extremely angry if my mic is muted. I don't think it is. Okay. Yeah. They've been going nonstop like this for hell weeks at this point, man. I don't know what to say about it. There's something wrong. Something wrong with the sensor that detects whenever my windshield is wet, and that's why my check engine light has been on now for several weeks. So yeah, I'm going to wind up saying squeak every time they go squeak. Okay, I'm just letting you know, giving you fair warning. I'm gonna be saying squeak a lot. So as I was sitting here trying my squeak, see, I told you they were going to squeak. It's ridiculousness. I don't know how they still have any of the pad left on them. And I don't know what to do about the sensor besides take the thing to the shop. It's a whole thing. Anyways, I was sitting here after just finishing my sausage and egg stromboli with marinara sauce that I brought for my lunch. I was sitting here thinking, you know what I should do? I should squeak. I should finish writing the script that I was working on. See, I'm doing this thing that I do where every couple of months I will think, you know what? I should try and do something with my time besides sit there and play video games and eat and occasionally visit the restroom whenever I'm not at work. So I squeak. So I'm in that little phase right now. Like I say, every couple months, and I'm writing a script of a whole bunch of crap for a ranking video of the trades. Listen to me. Oh my gosh. I don't talk about construction as much as I could. And the reason for that is because I have difficulty distilling down exactly what I want to say and what I'm thinking about saying. And it's not something that I have to do very often, where I've actually got to sit here and present a presentable thought. So if somebody says in the comment section, and I've been getting a lot of comments, because right now construction site culture video is getting about 200 views an hour, which is part of the reason that I went live right now. Like, if anybody from there sees this live stream is running and wants to, add their 2 cents to the conversation, this is the place to do it for sure. I have said before, and I'll say again, I enjoy reading the comments. I do. That's really one of the only good things about YouTube. From the perspective of somebody who uploads videos to it, is just that you get to sit there and read what other people think, and usually they're right. I forgot to say squeak, by the way, for the last 2 wipes, so squeak. But yeah, the squeak, that video is doing well, and I've had a lot of people saying, well, you should do another construction video. I sworn to goodness, boy, I tell you what, that's some good viewing right there. That's a mighty fine video you got there. If it's a sport, I tell you, you want to do more of them. That way I'll watch more of them. And I'm like, all right, well, great. I've had people ask me, to do a video about my upcoming, coming up in the squeak in the electrical trade. Oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard to pay attention to this. Imagine sitting here on lunch Thursday trying to talk to my mother about the doctor's appointment that she was going to have the following day that I needed to drive her to, while listening to that. It was like a 15-20 minute conversation that we could have had in the span of 3 or 4 minutes, because I kept losing my train of thought. Squeak! Kept losing my train of thought because of the blasted windshield wipers. What was I saying? Oh yes, writing. All right, so where's the page? I've got a page with all of the trades that I'm going to smack. And I don't see it. Anyways, general contractors. Fire protection and pipe fitters. Squeak! Fire protection and pipe fitters I've lumped all into one. Because pipe fitters obviously do a whole bunch of stuff, like that. There's different factories that they'll pipe gas or water or whatever around in. But the most common application of a of a pipe fitter rather on the job sites, at least the ones that I have worked on for the most part, has been fire protection, piping the sprinkler lines. Roofers, painters, the flooring guys, plumbers, concrete and brick masons, glaziers, which is the technical terminology for somebody who installs windows. Didn't know that. G-L-A-Z, squeak, I-E-R, glazier, glass installer. Like glacier, but without the C. Mechanical, HVAC, welders / steel erectors, because the most common application on a job site of a welder is with the steel erection guys who build the skeleton of the building. Carpenters, which don't exist. Site prep / heavy equipment operator, because the most common application of a heavy equipment operator on a job site is site prep. Pushing the dirt around, making the building where it can be built on ground that isn't going to collapse. And electricians, framers, and then one that I'm not going to spoil. 15 pages that I've got thus far. A squeak of everything that I would like to hint at in this video. The last time I wrote anything majorly, something of this magnitude, was the essay, squeak, that I wrote 2013. That's when it was. Whenever I wrote the essay for my SAT. Whoa. For my GED, sorry, because I have a GED. The essay that I wrote for that was the last time that I ever wrote anything squeak major. So I'm having to remember how to utilize this here ink pen for an extended period without my fingers trying to jump off of my hand. And it's not, I feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. And like I say, that's 15 pages. And I'm like 10% of the way done with what I was thinking about. Maybe I've chewed off a little bit more than I could bite. This is going to be interesting. But yeah, this there we go. Perfect. This is going to be hopefully something that I can get done with this week. If I can get past the fact that my windshield wipers will not stop squeaking, and if I can get past the fact that I've got 1,000 other things on my mind right now besides this. This is something that something I need to commit to, because the alternative is I'll get home after a hot squeak, after a hilarious day at work, and I'll think to myself, what would be really good right about now? 7 days to die. And so I'll just burn the entire rest of the day, rest of the evening, the 2 or 3 hours that I'll have left to myself after I get home, on 7 days to die. And that's not a bad thing. It just doesn't need to be an every night thing. But it has been for months. Not necessarily just 7 days to die. I mean, there's been other things. Warframe, Arma, DayZ at one point. That other things that just burn time for nothing. I've lost so much time. Wasted so much time. Squeak! And there's not saying I could have done anything better with the time, given the interest that I had at the time. Anyway, I'm rambling. That's what I'm good at, is rambling. I looked, squeak, for my copy of NASCAR Rumble, which I mentioned in the video about my Game Boy and the first video games I played. I looked for the copy that I had of that. That disc is just gone. I don't know where it went. I don't know who had it last. I thought that I had it last. I thought at one point that my grandfather borrowed it. And I went squeak. I went plowing through all of my possessions, and I could not find it in any of my drawers, any of my boxes, any of anything. I don't know what happened to it. So that's what became of that. Um, I guess I don't know if there's an emulator or something that can be gotten for it. I don't know that there'd be any copies of that. Squeak! Copies of that game that could be gotten like on eBay that would be trustworthy to actually play for less than $100 for, you know, one PlayStation game. Those games, man, I'm telling you, those were some classics right there. That was a relic of a bygone era back in the day whenever you'd have to put a disc into a console. And I realized that, you know, that's still a thing that goes on, obviously, but not for me because I have a squeak, because I have a PC now. So I don't have to put discs in slots anymore because everything's a download. And discs are going to be a relic of a bygone era one day, obviously, if Ubisoft or whoever it was gets their way, and, you know, owning the physical copy of something is no longer a viable way of doing business. But yeah, I looked for it. I didn't find it. I did find NASCAR 98, NASCAR 99. I think 2000's in there, mixed in there somewhere. Also found, and something that I had intended to show in that video was my copy of Battleship. The board game Battleship used to have a computer game back in, it was Windows 95, and it came on a disc in a little blue case. I'm sure you could probably Google Battleship the computer game and find it, but man, I'm gonna tell you something, Sonny. That thing right there, squeak! That thing right there was delightful. You had the board game format that you could play in, but it was beyond that. This was back when games gave you a bang in addition to your buck. That game had island capture, where you would float around with the battleships, which would still be oriented like a normal squeak, like the pieces on the game board in Battleship, where, you know, your battleship would have 5 slots that it would take up, and battleship would take up 4 slots, carrier would take up 5 slots, patrol boat would take up 2, but you'd have to send fleets around to capture these islands, like in Micronesia or whatever the game was set in. And that was the game mode. And it was delightful, and I loved it. You had to go and capture points is what it was. And that was my introduction to the theory of capture point, to that entire game mode. And it was so much fun. I about wore the disc out. As a matter of fact, that is the first time I can remember my mother telling me that I played games too much. You know, at the ripe old age of, I had to be 9. Squeak! I had to be 9 because it was just before we moved from the old house to the new house that my parents are living in. New being a relative term, this obviously being 20 years ago. But yeah, that game was the first time my mama ever told me, man, you're playing games too much. You need to go outside and do something. Find some grass to roll around in, for goodness sake. I don't know, throw a chair. That was the first time I remember that. And boy, I tell you something, Sonny, that didn't slow me down much. I did eventually get tired of that game, though, and dipped into playing Harvest Moon a bunch. I got like 2 years into that game. And then there was a big period that I just didn't play them anymore until August of 2015 when I got my first computer, squeak, and started playing Rainbow Six Siege. And I've still got videos from whenever I was back playing Rainbow Six, back before the one-step matchmaking system was introduced, man, back in Skull Rain. I've got videos archived in the unlisted section of me with a squeaky voice, with no webcam, with a Turtle Beach microphone on my corded headset, squeak, and that was some humdingers right there. Could barely tell what was going on for the pixels. Oh my goodness, that was some fun stuff. But anyhow, while I've been sitting here, I'm going mad because of the squeakage. My Powerade is getting hot. Squeak! And I can't even be 100% certain if I can be heard right now, because whenever I first sat down to begin the stream, I noticed that the Bluetooth of my truck was connected to my phone. and I turned that off. I turned off the Bluetooth function. But now I wonder if maybe that means that the microphone just isn't working. Maybe the audio is just completely kaput. And I've been talking now for exactly 15 minutes now, with nothing that I've said actually winding up in the stream. So I'm going to go ahead and go, and I'm going to check and see if anything that I have said has been registered in the microphone. And if I find that it has been, I'll leave this up. If I find that it hasn't been, then I'm going to delete this stream and probably won't go live again because I've got a lot of writing to do, and squeak, and because of squeak. All right, y'all have a hilarious day.